used to just demolish me all the time. It was no fun at all. But I'll say this, it made me work. I mean, inside, my whole motivation was, I have to be better than my brother. Like, it wasn't for trophies, it wasn't for status, it was, I'm going to show him that baby brother is going to be dominant, and I'm going to be dominant on his face in public, all right? And so that was my whole goal, and so I did what every, 14-year-old did that weighed 90 pounds going into high school, right? I started drinking whole milk. Y'all ever had the coach? It's like drink whole milk, eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, protein. When I'm doing that, I'm losing weight, right? I mean, I just can't gain weight for anything. And man, I'm playing, and I go out. How many of y'all remember this? Y'all remember strength shoes? Does anybody remember that? They're the shoes that have the big disc on the front of them, and you're supposed to jump in them, and they're supposed to make your calves, like, awesome. Yeah, I used to do that stuff like crazy, man. I'm like in the neighborhood. Down the street, people looking at you like, what's up? Working on the calves. I'm going to level basketball. And they're like, don't talk to him. Right? I did it, man. I hit the jump rope. I hit the heavy rope, man. I'm in there before practice, after practice. I'm like, I've got to be better than my brother. So my claim to fame is this, and I grew up in Garland, and I went to school over there, did a bunch of 5-day schools, went to Lakeview my first year, man, made the freshman squad, we won city. I'm like, man, I'm the man, right? Well, a new high school opens up, so I transferred to the new high school, which is Rowlett High School. Man, I go over there, I got a football program, football came around. We were like 3-28 my 3 years in high school. How many of y'all got football teams like that? Anybody? Okay, yeah. Our quarterback got MVP for like 6 other teams, most touchdown passes to the other team. It was crazy. But our basketball team was a little bit the same. And man, I was stoked because I'm 15. I'm playing varsity in a 5A school district. Man, I think I'm the man. Now, let me tell you a little piece of the story that's not there. We don't have any seniors, right? So it's sophomores and juniors, and we're just getting trounced by people. But my motivation became, I want to be great. So I changed the way I ate. I changed the way I slept. I changed who I hung out with. Man, I worked at it. You know what I'm talking about. Whatever it is for you, whether it's dance or music or school or sports, you give everything. There's this desire to be the best, and you work and you give everything to it. And I think for us, we sometimes don't take that same drive that we have for a sport or for or dance or music or whatever we do, and we give it everything, but sometimes we don't transition that into our faith. And so every morning we're going to be talking about ways that we can resolve in our hearts. So if you're taking notes in your book right there, resolve in our heart to live for Jesus completely. That we take the same tenacity for the things that we love and are gifted at and have a platform with, and we take that same thing into our walk. And so I think a lot of us have heard stuff like that before, but let me tell you when it really started making sense for me. It started making sense for me when I became a dad about 6 years ago. And man, I had this little baby girl that was born to me named Raleigh. And man, I was just like, who in their right mind would give me a kid, right? I'm a youth pastor. We eat Cheetos between people's toes. We live on the 4 basic food groups: Chick-fil-A, soda, pizza, and whatever the stuff is left on the stage after a game, right? That's what we eat. That's what we live. How am I going to take care of this? And this is my little girl right here. She's 5 and a half now. Her name is Raleigh. And one of the things that I did when we talked, we're going to leave that picture up, when I resolved in my heart that little girl was going to be loved more than any other woman on the planet. That little girl, as she grew up, would go on dates with her dad. That I would take her out and we would spend time, and I would spend money, I would spend energy, I would spend time telling her how beautiful she is. And she is, man, blonde hair, blue eyes, sassy as all get out, about this tall. Man, her favorite thing is go and get her toenails painted, right? I'm like, you're 5. Go get your toenails painted at 5. But she does. You know why? Because Daddy wants to let her do what she wants. But I resolved in my heart that little girl's not going to grow up with self-esteem problems. That all the verbal affirmation that she needs, she's going to get from her daddy. I'm going to tell her how important she is, how God made her, how beautiful she is. I'm going to give her all the affection so she's not looking for it from some boy in middle school or high school. I'm going to set this girl up, and my wife is so wonderful. My wife gets up every morning at 6:30 and does Bible study with my little girl. She's memorizing the same scripture that our staff is memorizing this summer. Am I right, staff?
Yes.
And she's in there knocking out 2 Corinthians 5, the whole chapter. But this little girl, I resolved in my heart that I'm going to give her everything possible that I can to set her up for success and impact. But I wasn't prepared for what happened after I had this little girl. Sweet and beautiful. Then God gave me a bulldozer. This guy right here, let me put him on the screen. This is Thaddeus. And he is the warrior king. He doesn't talk a whole lot. Strong, silent, violent. He's the one that walks into the room and he's got blood dripping down his face. I'm like, what happened? He's like, I mean, that little boy loves to wrestle. He comes up to me all the time. He'll walk up, I'll come in from work, man. I've been at the church all day, been serving you guys, text me, y'all preparing messages, preparing camp. I'll walk in the door, my wife says, hey, baby, how you doing? I say, hey, how are you? Love you. And my little boy walks up to me and he goes, you want a piece of me? I'm like, yeah, break me off a slice. And man, I just hit it right there, drop the briefcase, me and him wrap up, we get tumbling, because I'm going, that little boy needs to know his daddy is there. That little boy, I resolved in my heart that even though I work a ton of hours, I'm not going to let him grow up not knowing what a man is. I'm going to teach him how to change the oil. Right now, he helped me build some lockers in our room, man. He was out there, y'all may not approve of this, with a chop saw, man. He's 2 years old, man. We're cutting stuff. We're drilling stuff. I mean, he still has all his fingers for now. But that little boy, I've resolved in my heart, it doesn't matter what I've come up. He's getting, here's just a picture of my kids. It's just for fun because I was looking on my phone last night. My kids right there. I mean, they are my life. And I'll tell you this, students, look at me. Jesus Christ radically changed my life at 19 years old. 19 years old. I'd gone to church. I'd been to camp. I'd heard the story. I could quote the scripture. But there came a real day when Jesus said, do you know me? At 19 years old, I gave my life to him. And every day for the past, not good at math, 33, 14 years, I've strived to resolve in my heart to memorize scripture, to live in a way that's going to give God the glory. And students, as a youth pastor, when I look at where we are as a group, sometimes I feel like we give this resolve that I give my kids or that I gave basketball back in the day. We don't even give a tenth of that to Jesus. And so my goal today is we look at Scripture, that we would resolve inwardly to love Jesus. Because it doesn't matter what you do on the outside, it's got to start on the inside. So today we're going to break open the inside. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the outside and then what it looks like after that on the third day. Are cool? So let's look at the heart, and no better place to look than Jesus Christ himself. So let's look at Matthew chapter 26. He created the world. We screwed stuff up as people. All through the Old Testament, there's this promise. There's going to be one who makes something right. There's going to be one that makes everything right. And then we see in Scripture in the New Testament, shows up on the spot as Jesus. Born as a baby, grows up. Later in life, starts a ministry, lasts 3 years. He goes to the cross as our perfect sacrifice. Fully God, fully man, all at the same time. To bear the sin of the world. We know the story. He dies, he raises again, and the world's been set on a different course ever since. But I want to give you a peek behind the curtain of some time by himself in Matthew chapter 26, verse 36 through 46. I'm going to read it and I'll pull up 3 things. It says this. Then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane. And he said to his disciples, sit here while I go over there and pray. And taking with him Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee, that's James and John, his best friends, his 3 best friends, it says he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, my soul is very sorrowful, even to the point of death. Remain here and watch with me. And then going a little farther, Jesus fell on his face and he prayed, saying this, my Father, if it would be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will. He came back to his disciples and found them sleeping, and he said to his friend Peter, so could you not even watch and pray with me for 1 hour? Watch and pray so that you will not enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but your flesh is weak. Again, for the second time, he went away and he prayed, my Father, if this cannot pass unless I drink it, your will be done. And again, he came and found his friends sleeping, for their eyes were heavy. So leaving them again, he went away and he prayed for a 3rd time, saying the same words again. Then he came to the disciples and said to them, sleep and take your rest later on. See, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is being betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand. Now, students, this is a heavy passage, but I want you to get, just like we take into our sports, we take it to our music, we take it to the things that we love, and we change the way we eat, and we sleep, and we practice, we sacrifice, we give, am I right? Right? We give it. And Jesus here is confronted, now that he is fully man, he's emptied himself, he's in a garden with some of his friends and he's praying, God, I'm about to take on the sin of the world. I've never sinned. All sin for all humanity. I'm going to become that, be punished unto death, executed, and then I'm going to die. And it says that he began to wrestle with that in his flesh. And it said his soul became heavy. You ever been there? There's something going on in your world, maybe something with your parents or friends or a life situation, a loss, something like that, and then just your insides feel like they're rotting. And you can't lift your head up and you're just like, I can't take this. And Jesus is there. And he's got his 12 buddies that have been with him for 3 years, his friends. He says, man, guys, just pray for me. I'm struggling. He takes his 3 best friends and goes, guys, listen. Craziness is about to break open. I need you now. Y'all got friends that y'all can go to like that? That you're like, when everybody else is away, you're like, man, I need you. And he goes a little bit further. He begins to pray. He begins to pour out his heart before God. Students, I'll say this. If we as a group are going to resolve inwardly to love Jesus with calculated abandon, there's going to be 3 things that you're going to see happen. Number 1 is this. Write it down. God is going to confront your manageable.